A very good morning, dear parents. A warm welcome to all our dear parents and students viewing this webinar on National Education Policy 2020. Thank you for joining us here on Zoom. Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. I quote Nelson Mandela. Believing in this, the Government of India approved the NEP 2020 on 29 July 2020. It outlines the vision of India's new education system for elementary to higher education, as well as vocational training in both rural and urban India. The government, through various organizations, has initiated the process to make it known to all stakeholders and has initiated suggestions for its implementation. CBSE too has instructed all its schools to conduct awareness program to the staff, parents, and students. And that is why we are here on this online platform to know more about this new education policy. So stay tuned while we take a look at what's in the policy and how it will impact our children. Before we move on, I invite the principal, Reverend Father Melvin Anilovo SJ, to address our viewers with words of welcome.
Good morning and welcome to all of you, dear parents. I warmly welcome each one of you for this webinar on National Education Policy 2020. As you know, the new Education Policy 2020 has been approved by the Union Cabinet of India on 29 July 2020. Ever since, it has been widely discussed at various forums, especially in the education sector, institutions, and those concerned with education. The National Education Policy 2020 outlines the vision of India's new education system. This policy is a comprehensive framework for elementary education to higher education as well as vocational training in both rural and urban India. It is the first education policy of the 21st century and aims to address the many growing developmental imperatives of our country. As the policy is going to shape the future of education and the education of our children, it is necessary that we understand the changes brought in by the new policy so that we can respond to those changes in an appropriate manner. In order to help us to understand the policy, we have an apt resource person in the person of Dr. Flossie C.R. D'Souza. She is the Professor in Education, St. Anne's PG Studies and Research in Education. She has completed Masters in Computer Science, Psychology and Education. She is a PhD holder in Education from Karnataka University, Dharwad, and has a teaching experience of 27 years at UG and PG level and 25 years of research experience. She has guided more than 250 dissertations of MEd and MA education. 8 scholars are awarded PhD in education by Mangalore University under her guidance. She has served as a resource person at various national conferences, completed several research projects funded by UGC, IUCTE and UBCHE, UNESCO, Xavier Board and Government of Karnataka. She has presented papers at world conferences in education in Europe, US, Italy and Thailand. She was part of Commonwealth of Learning project and developed blended instructional material for training teachers, the first of its kind in the country, in collaboration with the Commonwealth of Learning Canada. She has conducted several faculty development programs online and offline to teacher educators, teachers and parents. We are truly blessed to have a very resourceful and experienced resource person for our webinar. I extend a hearty welcome to our resource person. A warm welcome to all our dear parents as well. I'm sure it is not easy to set aside an hour for this webinar in your busy schedule, and yet you have done so. So I really appreciate all of you for being present here for this webinar. And I welcome all of you, my dear parents. Wish all of you a fruitful webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Father, for addressing the viewers. Dear parents, you can now listen to the resource person, and if you have any queries, you can post them in the chat box, and at the end of the session, the resource person will be addressing them to you.
Good morning to all the parents of Gonzaga School gathered around this virtual platform. Thank you, Mrs. Jacinta Di Costa, for your words of welcome. Thank you, Father Melvin Lobo, the principal of this prestigious institution, for introducing me as well as giving me this opportunity to create awareness on NEP 2020 among the parents of this school. It's my great pleasure this morning and also an honor to be a part of this webinar to create awareness to the stakeholders who will be part of this implementation of NEP 2020. I appreciate the role played by the Jesuit management in being in the forefront in providing quality education and also striving for excellence, providing quality education in and around the country. I'm sure you, dear parents who are gathered and connected with me, you have the satisfaction of selecting the best school for your child, as every parent wants to give the best to their children. As this school strives for excellence, the school has to adopt to the new changes taking place in the country as proposed by National Education Policy 2020. The government also wants all the stakeholders to be aware of the changes in the field of education that will be introduced in phases in our country. This NEP 2020 has been the talk of the town, as well as it's the hot discussion around the country where every school, college, university, and all the organizations are organizing webinars, seminars, workshops in order to create an awareness among the stakeholders on the policy, as well as the impact and challenges of this policy is going to bring in the next 2-3 decades in our country. Though there are very many reforms recommended at different levels of education, today's discussion I will restrict only to the transformative educational reforms that are proposed by this policy on school education. We all know that parents are the first and best teachers for the child. This parental awareness program organized by Gonzaga School will enable the parents to be aware and to be with the school as the school goes through several challenges to provide quality education to our children. Let me present my education policy highlights, how it is going to bring in transformative educational reforms. Let me begin my presentation. So this presentation is an awareness program for the parents on NEP 2020 on transformative school education that is recommended by National Education Policy 2020. In this presentation, I will provide you with the background of NEP 2020 and the vision that they have for quality education in our country and the school education major reforms that they have suggested, and also the timeline for implementation that has been suggested by the government for the states to follow, as well as a few impact and challenges that are in front of us in the next 2 decades, and also how to carry on this, how to face these challenges and a way forward. So this will be the presentation overview of the presentation that I will be following in order to provide you with awareness on NEP 2020. Begin with. I would like to give you the background of national education policy. The last national education policy that we encountered was in 1986 in our country, and this was modified in 1992. It is after 33 years. In 2019, we heard something like National Education Policy 2019 in its draft form, and that was after 3 decades that a change that was proposed for bringing in excellence and quality in education. This was as a result of the committee that was set up by the MHRD in the month of July 2017 under the chairmanship of Dr. Krishnaswamy Kasturirangan. And as we all know that the cabinet approved this NEP on 29th of July 2020. And Dr. M.K. Sridhar, who is from Karnataka, was one of the members, the former members of this, who was a former member of Knowledge Commission, was one of the members in this National Education Policy 2020. Now, I had a number of occasions where I met and listened to the talks given by Dr. Sridhar, who is one of the committee members of National Education Policy. In his presentation, he compared this National Education Policy 2020 to the field and track event of long jump. As we all know that, in order to play this track event of long jump, the player or the track, the one who plays this track event, he takes 4 stages. The first stage is the runway, the second stage is the takeoff, the third is flight, and the fourth is landing. As you see in this picture, there are 4 stages depicted. Similarly, he says that the NEP 2020 also is having a vision, something like how you play a long jump. So in a long jump, you have to take a runway. So even NEP policy 2020, before they came out with this, the NEP 2019 draft as well as 2020 NEP document, they have gone through a runway. They have, visited a number of policies, reports, commissions, and the recommendations given by them. Only after that, they have suggested and drafted this national education policy. And now in the month of July 2020, the document which was approved by the in the parliament, it has given a shape from where we can take off. So we are now ready with the document, but yet the regulations, the acts, the further implementation regulations have yet to be formulated. But once all these is ready, there will be a takeoff. And in this takeoff, the policy, the NEP 2020 policy is having a vision for the next 3 decades. So it's a long jump for the next 3 decades, nearly 1945 to 50, up to 1950, up to 2050, that the NEP 2020 has a vision for providing quality education and striving for excellence in the country. So in the policy, national education policy, the approach that they have followed in order to arrive at this NEP 2019 document as well as NEP 2020 document in a very summarized way, they have gone through a number of policy reports. They have gone through a number of policy reports. Just a minute, I want to make this side disturbing the center. So this National Education Policy 2020 aims to pave way for transformational reforms in school as well as in higher education in the country. And these reforms are suggested by the committee at all levels of education, starting from early childhood care education to lifelong learning. And the major challenges addressed by this policy include access, giving universal access to all citizens of India, as well as equity, providing education based on the needs of citizens of the country, providing quality education, making sure that all citizens of India get this affordable education, as well as all those who are involved in the field of education are accountable for their action. So these are the major challenges that are addressed in the National Education Policy 2020. Apart from this, the policy also looks at the global arena and wants to also has also looked into the sustainable development goals given by United Nations. And as per this SDG goal number 4, which is giving quality education to all citizens of the country, as well as for the global citizens. Every country strives to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. And this is considered very seriously in the policy, so that we are at the our education system in India is in par with the education given in every other country in the world. So in the words of Dr. K. Kasturi Rangan, who is the chairman of this committee, the Indian education system requires, it requires a complete change. Just fine tuning what was existing in the past, or looking into the old policies and bringing in some small incremental changes may not work for the country. So they have reformed, they want to reform, the whole system of education. Therefore, they have proposed the revision as well as revamping of all the aspects of education, including the structure of education, the regulations that are included with the structure, and the governance, in order to create a new system that is aligned with the aspiration goals of the 21st century education, while remaining consistent with India's traditions as well as value system. And the policy looks into the 21st century skills. And as we know that the 4 C's of 21st century skills is to make sure that our children who are educated, the youth who are educated, are critical thinkers and creative and original thinkers, and they are able to innovate and innovate and be in the forefront of innovations in our country, as well as they should learn to live together in collaboration. Because unless our children begin to learn together, there is little hope that our people will ever learn to live together. And so this should start from education. Therefore, lot of collaboration and partnership that is required in the 21st century in providing education to the masses as well as to the youth of the country. And apart from that, communication is considered as one of the most important skills that should be a part of quality education, and our children should be able to communicate much fluently as well as in the global arena. So that's why with this focus, they also considered the UNESCO learning goals. UNESCO has given 4 pillars of learning, where they consider that it is, learning to know is the initial stage, which we all do it in schools and colleges, but apart from this, we need to concentrate on learning to do, which means that the focus of education should be skill development, as well as learning to be a human person, a person who holds the human values, uphold human values, and is a part of a person who creates this harmony and peace wherever he goes. So learning to live together has been the strongest link, or the strongest pillar in keeping this learning to know, learning to do, and learning to be. To put all this into action, what is required is learning to live together, because unless our children begin to learn together, which can be done only in schools, there is little hope that our people will ever learn to live together. So this is the goal that UNESCO has given for learning, and this should happen in the classrooms, in our schools, in our colleges, in our universities. So this is the learning and the skill vision that the policy has. The main vision of the policy is threefold. First is to provide high quality education to every citizen of the country. Secondly, to develop a deep sense of respect towards the country, the fundamental rights, duties, the constitutional values, and a very strong bonding with our own country, and also to have that conscious awareness of what is my role of being a citizen of India, that belongingness of to be an Indian citizen. What is my role and responsibilities? What are my roles and duties? What are the constitutional values? And to uphold these constitutional values should be the goal of quality education. Thirdly, apart from this, the policy also look into how individual can be a global citizen and work for the global well-being by being a person or a citizen who will value the life and also be committed to human rights, sustainable developmental goals, and living sustainable living, as well as being for working towards global well-being and to be a global citizen. So this threefold vision that the policy has for the country has to take its shape in the next 2 or 3 decades. This is the vision of national education policy. One is to provide high quality education to all the citizens. Second is to make sure that we are good Indian citizens. Thirdly, we are good global citizens too. And this NEP 2020 document, it has 4 parts. In the first part, they discuss about school education. The second part on higher education. In the third part, they take the additional key focus areas, which includes professional education, technical education, technology education, digital education, and also the adult education. And in the fourth section, they have discussed how we can put all this into action and make sure that we are able to transform education. So the funding that is required, the implementing challenges have been discussed in this. Now, for the sake of the today's discussion, because we have very short time in order to provide awareness to the parents, we will restrict ourselves only to school education, because we are now directly connected with school and our children's education. So we will focus today's discussion only to school education. Now, in school education, the first reform that they have suggested is there is a need for universalization of education from preschool education to secondary school level, with 100% gross enrollment ratio in school education by 2030, which means that there are around 2 crore out of school children who are out of the school. They have to be brought in, or they have to be brought into the mainstream through open schooling system, so that we are able to achieve this 100% gross enrollment ratio in school education by 2030. And also they have suggested to bring the uncovered 3 to 6 years children who are under school, to bring them to the school curriculum, as this has been globally recognized for the development of the mental faculties of the child. And they have also recommended a new education structure or a pattern at the school level. Now let us look into the new educational pattern that they have suggested. The existing academic structure, as we all know, is 10 plus 2 years of schooling. 10 plus 2 years of schooling. As you can see in this picture, the child enters into the school at the age of 6, and up to 16 years enters, completes standard 10. And after that, the child enters into the pre-university college education, or it is also called as higher secondary or senior secondary education in some states in India. So this is the existing structure. Then now the new academic structure or the pattern of schooling that is suggested by the national education policy includes 15 years. So here this pattern is called as 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. This is a design pattern or a design that is recommended by the policy. And this the 3 years is 3 years in preschooling or Anganwadi, that is between age 3 to 6, and then 12 years of schooling. It's a total of 15 years that the child is supposed to be in the schools. So the 4 stages that they have mentioned is, the first stage is the foundational stage for 5 years. And in these 5 years, the child is supposed to enter the school at 3 years. And, the Anganwadis will be a part of the school. There can be preschools as a part of the school system itself. And there will be something called as Balavatikas, in order to prepare the students to enter into the formal schooling. So this is what is called as preparatory schools, are called as Balavatikas, also called as school ready classes, which happens before the child enters class 1. So this 3 years is very crucial for the child and for child development. And then class 1 and class 2, covering ages 6 and 8, these 2 years will come into the foundational stage. So the foundational stage of 5 years will be multi-level, as well as there will be a lot of play and activity-based learning and more informal in nature. Then the next stage is the preparatory stage for 3 years, that is class 3 to 5, and the age covered will be 8 to 11, where there will be a lot of, again, play, discovery, activity-based teaching, and interactive classroom learning. And above that is the next 3 years, class 6 to 8, covering the age of 11 to 14, which will be called as middle stage, where there will be a lot of experiential learning, and different subjects or disciplines will be introduced to the students, including science, maths, arts, social sciences, humanities. And there will be a lot of choices for the students from class 6 itself. Then we have then is the secondary education from class 9 to 12 for 4 years, covering the age 14 to 18, which will be more multidisciplinary study. And there will be a lot of opportunities for critical thinking for children. There will be a lot of flexibility for the students to make choices of their own subjects. So this is the new academic structures recommended by the National Education Policy 2020. So we need to make sure that the child enters the school at 3 and leaves school only at the age of 18 years, being a full-fledged youth ready to take adult role in the society. NEP 2020 also emphasizes on early childhood care education and also on foundational literacy and numeracy. Now, early childhood care education is given more importance because learning in the formative years is very, very important. And the 85% of the brain development occurs prior to the age of 6. Therefore, this age is very, very important. Now, as working parents, we may not be able to attend to the needs of the children of this age, 3 to 6 years. And most of us may leave our children with the maids or, with someone who takes care of their needs, but not their learning needs. Therefore, the committee suggests that this formative years, 3 to 6, is very, very important for the healthy development and growth of the children. Therefore, appropriate care and stimulation has to be given that will add to their personality. Therefore, they suggest that we should have a good curriculum at this early childhood care education, and this is being developed by NCERT, and that will be introduced very soon in the schools. And the policy recommends that by 2025 there should be universal access. That means all children of the age 3 should be in schools, in preschools, and also they assure that there should be high quality ECCE that should be ensured in schools, and this will be a phased activity throughout the country. And also they have recommended that there should be special educators who will be specially trained to teach children at this particular age. So therefore, specially trained teachers will be recruited at this stage. And the next emphasis is on foundational literacy and numeracy. Foundational literacy and numeracy has to do with the ability to read, write, and perform basic operations with numbers. And there was an alarming report by the World Bank in 2017. And the report has warned us that there is learning crisis across the world. And if we look into our status in India, the report said that half the children in grade 5 could not even read a text that is meant for grade 2 children. So therefore, this, there is an urgent need to handle this, literacy and numeracy problem. Therefore, attaining this foundational literacy and numeracy is the urgent national mission. And hence, all the states have been asked to prepare an implementation plan in order to achieve this target by 2025. And a national repository of high quality resources have been prepared by and have been, they will be there on the Diksha platform, a technology platform. And they have also suggested that in order to make sure that we attain this foundational literacy and numeracy in every state, we can make use of peer tutoring and ask for volunteers from the community who are ready to give their services to the schools in order to make sure that foundational literacy and numeracy is attained by 2025. And the policy focuses on holistic development, not only focus on the knowledge, but making sure that not concentrating on domain specific knowledge, but also enriching the students with multidisciplinary knowledge. And the policy focuses on the attitude of the children and youth to develop this positive mental attitude in children to make them skilled and provide them opportunities to acquire a number of skills. So multiple skill development should be the focus of education. Apart from that, development of habits, learning habits, good learning habits, good working habits should come through continuous practice in their lives, as well as value system. So value system should be embedded within the school system, in the pedagogy, in the curriculum, in the pedagogy, as well as in all the practices of the schools, including both personal as well as social values. So they have suggested a curriculum and pedagogy in schools which is holistic in nature, considering not only the knowledge aspect, but also the attitudinal aspect, the habits, the value system. So considering it's a holistic development that is expected, should be the outcome of curriculum and pedagogy in schools. So they suggest that the learning should be holistic, it should be enjoyable, and children should enjoy learning in schools as well as engage them, so that continuously engage them in the learning activities, so that we are able to make sure that they become 21st century learners with 21st century skills. And so apart from that, learning should be integrated, not only learning subjects in an integrated way or in an isolated way, learning separate subjects, but to look at subjects in an integrated way. Whatever I learned in maths, how is it help me to learn science? How did it help me to learn English? How did it help me to learn social science? So in an integrated way, learning should happen. So this is the vision for curriculum and pedagogy in schools of the policy. And the policy also says that in order to develop holistic development in the learners, we need to move towards how to learn rather than just to transfer knowledge. So how to learn, if we teach the children and the youth how to learn, our job is done. They will learn by themselves and they become self-directed learners, and that should be the focus of education. And so not only concentrating on the cognitive development, but also character building, as well as creating holistic and well-rounded individuals who are equipped with 21st century skills. And apart from this, they should have access to the rich information and also global communication, so that the classroom environment will be learning to learn. At the same time, values also should be embedded in the teaching learning process. The curriculum, the policy suggests that there should be reduction of the content, so that there is more focus on critical thinking. And so only core essentials will be included in the curriculum. And the learning in the classroom is going to be more fun, creative, collaborative, and exploratory by nature. And more of hands-on experience, experiential learning will be in practice, as well as art integration, so that we can imbibe the culture of the country, and that we can appreciate the art that we have, which we have as an art cultural heritage, as well as sports integrated learning, giving due focus to the physical activities. The classroom transactions will shift towards the competency-based learning, and more the teachers have to follow what is called as cross-curricular pedagogical approach in schools. Now in preparatory stage, that is from class 3 onwards, 3, 4, and 5, the subjects that will be taught will be reading, writing, speaking skills, maybe as language classes, as well as physical education, art, science, and maths. There will be light textbooks. Interactive classroom learning will be the focus in preparatory classes. After class 5, that is 6, 7, and 8, subject teachers will be introduced, and they will be discussing abstract concepts of each subject, and a lot of experiential learning opportunities will be in the schools with and across the subject, so that they are able to understand the multidisciplinary concept. And as they get into the secondary schools, that is class 9, 10, 11, and 12, they are able to have a multidisciplinary study which is built upon previous stage to a greater depth, as well as they are able to critically think about what they are studying. And there will be greater flexibility, and a lot of student choice of subjects will be available, and there will be semester system, and the students who want to exit at the grade 10 are allowed to do so, and they can re-enter into vocational stream or any other course that is available in 11 and 12 later on at any part of their life. So this is the flexibility that is given to the students in the school system. Regarding the pedagogy reforms, the policy aims at reducing the curriculum load so that there is more focus on interdisciplinary as well as multilingual interventions. Variety of combination of subjects will be offered in the schools, like they can combine chemistry with baking, or fashion designing with social science. So this way there will be a lot of subjects combination that will be available at the school level itself. And coding will be introduced from class 6, and midday meal scheme will be continued, and they have extended it to even to include breakfast in schools. And in every school, they have suggested that there should be counselors, there should be social workers. They will be in and out, moving from the schools, so that they are able to help the students and teachers to cope up with their mental health. Now, in order to empower the students and give them flexibility, in secondary schools, a lot of choices are given to students to select their own subjects. There will be no hard separation among the curricular, extracurricular. That means there is no hard separation as we have now in the pre-university colleges and universities, like arts, science, humanities, and also occasional and academic streams, where we know that occasional is not given due importance. Only academic streams are given higher importance in our country. But there will be no hard separation. Everything will be learned and given equal importance. All subjects, physical education, arts and craft, occasional skills, in addition to all these subjects like science, maths, humanities, will be incorporated throughout the school curriculum. Now, there will be a lot of exposure will be given to occasional education, and children will get a lot of opportunities to expose themselves to occasional education, so that they know what are the occasional education that is available to them, so that they can select the appropriate career. And there will be a fun course for children in the grade 6 to 8, including where they will be they can learn occasional crafts like carpentry, electrical, metal, plumbing, gardening, pottery, etc., which will be more practice-based, and this curriculum will be designed by NCERT. And the policy also proposes that every child should learn at least one occasion and should be exposed to several more occasions. And also the policy claims that there should be what is called as a Lokavidya, which means that there should be 10 bagless days for children, where they need not carry their bags to schools, but they can work with local vocational experts organized by schools to help the students to gain better understanding of what a vocation means, as well as the NEP proposes that there should be internship opportunities for the students. The policy also claims that the introduction of vocational courses in secondary schools will be done in a phased manner in the next decade. And there will be opportunities for the school children to visit what is called as skill labs, where they can work in collaboration with polytechnics and local industries. So that this occasional courses also will be put in the online mode, so that more and more schools in the rural or located in the remote places can have the benefit of this Lokavidya or occasional education. Then curriculum integration of subjects and development of multiple skills is the focus of the policy. Multiple skills should be embedded in the curriculum, and the curriculum will be drafted in such a way that there will be opportunities for learning multiple skills, as well as the contemporary subjects are given due importance. The subjects like artificial intelligence, design thinking, holistic health, organic living, global citizenship education should be introduced at relevant stages in school, so that the children are aware of these concepts and how these the nation and the world are working towards these contemporary ideas. And there is greater emphasis on mathematics as well as computational thinking, as it has been in the past decades. And also the curricular reforms include knowledge of India as a part of the subject. Every child should get more knowledge of the country, as well as there will be an elective course which the children can take it as an optional course in order to engage them and to understand more on Indian knowledge systems. And also there will be sound ethical practices which will be embedded by focusing on values in our curriculum as well as pedagogical practices. And the textbooks will have reduced content, will be thinner in size, as well as there will be scope for a lot of construction of knowledge, and local context content can be added as supplementary material by schools. And language reforms have been the major reforms of this national education policy. There are many criticisms and many objections to this language policies. The policy raises the importance of mother tongue and regional languages. Medium of instruction until class 5 and more should be, preferably beyond that, should be in mother tongue. Sanskrit and foreign languages will also be given emphasis. The policy also states that no language will be imposed on the students. And as you can see in this picture, from up to the class in the formative years, the teaching should be in mother tongue. And class 1 to 5, exposure to children to 3 languages, where the medium of instruction will be mother tongue. And class 6 onwards, there will be choices. All will learn 3 languages minimum, but there will be choices for Hindi speaking states and non-Hindi speaking states. In non-Hindi, since Karnataka is a non-Hindi speaking state, Hindi, English and any local language could be taken as the 3 languages. Apart from this, there is additional 2 years of Sanskrit or any other classical language that can be learned by the students in the school level, as well as they have recommended that the foreign language can be an elective subject. Here, foreign language doesn't mean that the English as the foreign language, but other languages other than English, which may be Russian, Japanese, Korean, or German, any language of interest to the children, provided you have those teachers to teach the children, so they can be introduced in the schools. This is the recommendation. Now, in assessment reforms, they suggest that we need to shift from more of summative to formative, which means we need to continuously assess the children daily, weekly, monthly, rather than just giving the term end exams. And we should move towards competency-based assessment, and from those tests and exams should be more to promote learning, not just to categorize the students, but to promote learning, and that the test and examination should test the higher order skills of the students. So they have suggested to include not only the teacher who is assessing the students, but also peers can assess themselves, and in the groups peers can assess, as well as self-assessment, which is considered to be the best assessment, should be the part of assessment practices in the schools. Now, the other assessment reforms include examination, school examination at the grades 3, 5, and 8. This is just for the sake of understanding whether the students are progressing and to what extent the schools and the system is progressing, not much to categorize the students. So there will be school examination in grades 3, 5, and 8. The examination would test achievement of basic learning outcomes only. Only the core concepts will be considered, and relevant higher order skills and application of knowledge in real situations will be tested, rather than the rote memorization that we are doing today. And the policy feels that there is a lot of coaching culture that is going on throughout the country, and the children are feeling that there is examination pressure, And in order to remove this exam pressure and the coaching culture that has become like a pandemic in our country, there is a need for coaching class to be eliminated. So they have suggested that board exams will continue in 10 and 12, but they will be redesigned, and for which coaching may not be required. So the board examination will be much easier, and only core competences will be measured. And this will include both objective and descriptive type of measurement. And therefore, in order to eliminate this high stake board examination and make it low stake, they have recommended that the examination can be conducted twice a year, and where all students will be allowed to take board exams in 2 occasions during the school going year. One is called as the main exam, and the other one is a improvement exam. If any child wants to take up improvement exam, he or she can take and improve his scores. So this is suggested by the policy. And there will be a standard setting body in order to assess the performance of the students, and that will be called as PARAK. This will be a national assessment center, which is for measuring the performance assessment, review and analysis of knowledge for holistic development. And this will be a standard setting body which will be assessing the students' performance in schools. The progress cards will be redesigned, and by the NCERT and SCERT, they will give a framework how we can redesign the progress cards, and it will be holistic in nature, 360-degree multidimensional report, which will reflect in great detail the progress and uniqueness of each learner. All the 3 aspects, cognitive, affective, and psychomotor domains will be covered here. It will include teacher assessment, peer assessment, as well as self-assessment. In order to, for sharing the resources of a school or an educational institution, the policy has suggested that there should be consolidation of schools for effective resourcing. And for this, they suggest what is called a school complex, where one secondary school, together with all the other schools offering the lower grades in its neighborhood, including Anganwadis in a radius of 5 to 10 kilometers. And they also suggest twinning or pairing of schools, where one public school can be paired with one private school. And they have also suggested or recommended to have this special education zones for those children who are differently abled, so that we are able to meet and cater to their needs. And in order to accredit the institutions and make sure that we are able to accredit and to maintain that quality of education, there is, in order to continually improve educational outcomes, standard setting bodies have been suggested. And according to them, there are 4 standard setting bodies that will come into force. Department of School Education for overall monitoring, and Director of School Education for the implementation of policies, and the State School Standard Authority for standard setting of the schools, and SCERT and NCERT for academic matters. So this will be the standard setting bodies for different purposes, for monitoring, for implementing the policies, for standard setting in schools, for accreditations, as well as for academic matters. So the major reforms in school level is to make sure that all children are in schools by 2030 who are of the age 3 to 18 years. So 100% GER by 2030. And other reforms which I've already mentioned is to make examination more low stake, vocational courses to be introduced from class 6, and also report cards should be more holistic in nature, and mother tongue to be introduced, and to be the medium of instruction till 5th grade. And also the committee suggests that by 2030, the minimum teacher qualification to teach in schools will be 4-year integrated B.Ed degree. And the timeline the committee, the policy suggests is 2021-22 was the planning that was done by the government in the previous year. But due to pandemic, they could not come out with the curriculum and the implementation. Therefore, this is extended for 1 more year. So in the year 22-23, the class 9 will start with the new curriculum and assessment. And then in 23-24, the same class will go to class 10 and they will take board exams in 23-24. And when these children go to 11th class in 2024-25, they will be in the class 11th, and 25-26 they will take the 12th board exams. So new board exam pattern for class 12th has been already planned, and this will be implemented in the next 2 years. So NEP 2020 has brought in a lot of challenges before us. You know, we feel that NEP 2020 looks at the society of India as though everybody is same, or there is homogeneity in everyone. But truly speaking, you know, there are so many socio-economic, cultural inequities in our country, in society, and to implement this policy will be a great challenge, and it will have great different impact on different groups. And another important challenge is that implementing mother tongue education is not an easy task in a country, in a multicultural country like India. There are so many mother tongues and spoken by the citizens of India, and introducing so many mother tongues as medium of instruction and training teachers to teach children in mother tongue is going to be a very challenging task if it is going to be implemented. And there are reforms in school education system and occasional training, which is going to be challenged to the schools. And this technology in education that is introduced, it will bring in a digital divide between the students who are economically sound and who are not economically sound. So the access to technology and gadgets, who get the access will move ahead, and others may remain in the back seat. And so therefore, this is a major challenge to our country. Apart from that, we see that there is a lot of centralization that is that is a part of the policy. Even the creation of the content, there is a lot of centralization. Everything the central decides, and states and institutions will have less autonomy. Institutions will have very less autonomy in future. Therefore, these are the several challenges, and many more challenges are ahead of the school and ahead of the parents as well as the children who are going through this. So the way forward is looking at this policy in a very positive way. It looks like there are enormous opportunities for providing education which is suitable for the 21st century learners. And NEP 2020 has thrown several challenges to school education. There are drastic recommendations that are made to begin with the new curricular structure and pedagogy in schools. And the policy has new as well as old ideas on school education, but the execution of this depends on the change in mindset of the people or the stakeholders. So we have to broaden our horizons, and we have to train a vast number of highly skilled teachers who are prepared to face these challenges and able to bring in this quality education in our country. And but they are giving us so impossible timelines that there is a lot of anxiety among the schools and teachers. So in the future, it looks like only schools which are progressive and who are ready to change will only survive. So as a parent of this Gonzaga school, and as you wish that your child should get quality education in our country in this school, then we as parents have to be with the school management, and we have to support our teachers of the school, and also your own child and the other students who are learning along with your child to adopt to these new changes. So this awareness program is given to you parents so that you are supporting the management, the teachers and the students, and move with them in providing quality education to your children, to all the children of this country. So with this positive note, I request that we parents need to be with them and also support them in providing quality education. So with this concluding note, I would like to thank each one of you for connecting with me in this webinar. And I thank Father Melvin Lobo once again for giving me this opportunity. Now the session is open for question answers. Okay, there is a question from Minnie. During the foundational stage, if the instruction medium is going to be mother tongue, how will that work in a state like Karnataka, where there are people from all over India who would not necessarily know Kannada? In such a case, parents themselves might not know Kannada. Okay, so during the foundational stage, the policy recommends that the instruction should be, the medium of instruction should be the mother tongue of the child. So there are so many mother tongues. Kannada may not be the mother tongue of every child. Like Konkani can be my mother tongue, Tulu can be another mother tongue of another child, or different languages. So the policy claims that the teachers who are appointed, in the school should be the local teachers who can help in the making the child comfortable in the schools by making use of the mother tongue. So there are various strategies that have been working, that is being worked out by the NCERT, and the curriculum and pedagogy is coming through. So when the curriculum and pedagogy is introduced, they will give us guidelines how to go about in a state like Karnataka, or in a state like Orissa, or any other state, how to go about in considering this mother tongue. At present, it's a global challenge. When we look into the different countries offering education, it is in the countries those who give quality education, like the countries like Norway, Sweden, Finland, and other countries. They also are who provide quality education to the children, are known for the quality education. They also give mother tongue education in the formative years, because it is psychologically approved that the child should learn in mother tongue in the formative years for better cognition of the child, instead of switching to a new language. As the child develops after the age of 8, after the age of 8, number of languages like classical language, or foreign language, or many other languages could be introduced, because children can learn more languages than the adults, and they are very receptive to the language, and there is a lot of fluency in children, and there's a lot of interest also in the children to learn different languages. So the policy claims that we should give them more and more opportunities to learn languages. That is the end point, and this is recommended. And it is. I was surprised to listen to a parent who was from Tamil Nadu, settled in Norway, and he was saying that in Norway, in a school, there are 71 languages that are taught in a school. I mean, considering even the languages of those children who are migrants, or children from other countries. For example, that family who went from Tamil Nadu to Norway for and they have become permanent residents of Norway, and they are given education in Tamil. If Norway can enable a child to give mother tongue education in Tamil, I think in future we can think of strategies. I think nothing is impossible. So, this is an idea given by, or a recommendation given by the policy. We won't, claim that it will come into existence tomorrow itself, but slowly in phases, they will work out strategies how it can come into practice, because psychologically it is apt to give education in mother tongue education in formative years to a child. I hope I have answered your question. Okay, how are teachers going to be enabled to teach in this new methodology? Teachers require a lot of training to adopt to this new methodology, because the teachers who have got training in the past, they have to be oriented to this new technology or new techniques of teaching, and for that, a lot of certificate courses are designed for the teachers. So a lot of in-service teachers training has been suggested by the policy. So every teacher is supposed to go through a minimum of 40 hours of internship or training. Training will be given to teachers, and that will become mandatory. Is there any focus on improving the soft skills of students? There will be a lot of scope for improving the soft skills of students, and soft skills themselves, which affect the emotions of the students. The focusing on the attitude, focusing on the values, focusing on the habits of children is nothing but, you know, developing or improving the soft skills of students. So at every stage of education, there will be a lot of scope for improving the soft skills of students recommended by this policy. Next question is, how is transfer between states considered when it comes to choosing mother tongue? Mother tongue, if I move from Karnataka to West Bengal, how would it work out? So how would it work out? We have to see now when the NCERT develops the curriculum and pedagogy, and you know, when we see the guidelines, we will be clear on what the policy recommends and how to put it into action. But the idea of the policy is that if you are migrated from West Bengal to this place, you should be given, you know, there should be someone or a teacher who can provide education to that particular child in the language of mother tongue of that particular child. So they've also asked us to, you know, go for online modes and to get some teachers who are available and from Orissa, from West Bengal, or from whatever you know, from whatever state that you come from. So there is possibility that the strategies could be worked out, and the strategies will be coming in future, so that, you know, this also will be taken care of by the policy. When can we expect this to be implemented for class 1 or other classes? So to start with, in the next year itself, they are starting for class 9th, and for in a phased manner, they will begin with our early childhood care education. So the first phase, in the first phase, these two are in line, and slowly, one by one, you know, in a phased manner, they will be introducing. In the first phase, now they are started with ECCE, that is the children of age 3. They are developing curriculum for the age 3 children, 3 to 6, and they want the intake to start from next year itself. And next year itself, in the secondary education, class 9, 10, 11, 12, new curriculum will be introduced. And in the phased manner, as you know, years go by, it will be introduced in the future. So exactly, I cannot tell you when the class 1 will start, most probably in the next 3 years.
Thank you, Dr. Flossie, for imparting awareness on this new education policy, the NEP 2020. It was indeed informative. And we can conclude that the new education policy 2020 is a good policy, as it aims at making the education system holistic, flexible, multidisciplinary, aligned to the needs of the 21st century and the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. The intent of this policy seems to be ideal in many ways, but it is the implementation where lies the key to success. So having come to the end of the session, may I call upon Ms. Deepthi Karkada to propose the vote of thanks. Choose an attitude of gratitude applied throughout the day. With an attitude of gratitude, things will flow your way. Good morning, everyone. I, Deepthi Sahana Karkada, on behalf of St. Aloysius Gonzaga School and the entire fraternity of the institution, first of all, extend my most sincere thanks to the Almighty God for making today's event a resounding success. I extend a heartfelt gratitude to our webinar speaker, Dr. Flossie D'Souza, for her enriching session on National Education Policy 2020. The session gave a clear view on the key factor of the policy and also a deep insight of the topic. It is our privilege to hear your thoughts, and this will surely encourage us to work hand in hand for the successful accomplishment of NEP 2020 policy. Thank you, ma'am. I thank our respected principal, Reverend Father Melvin Anil Lobo, SJ, the strong pillar of our school, the catalyst of this webinar, for his systematic planning and fruitful suggestion in conducting this webinar. Thank you, Father. My sincere thanks to our Vice Principal, Mrs. Jacinta Anita D'Costa, for moderating the session,
We are fortunate to have you, our mentor. Thank you, ma'am. An event like this cannot happen overnight. The wheels start rolling weeks ago. It requires planning and a bird's eye for details. We have been fortunate enough to be backed by a team of very proactive and dedicated staff members of our institution who are very well versed in their job. I would like to take this opportunity to place on record a hearty thanks to Ms. Shweta Acharya, Mr. Arthur Lobo, Mr. Shivanand, and Mr. Patson for the perfect logistic support and guidance. Our sincere gratitude goes to all parents for taking time and attending this webinar. Your active participation has made this webinar a successful one. We look forward for your support in implementing NEP 2020 policy. Thank you, parents. Thank you, and have a great day ahead.
Thank you, Ms. Deepti. And a big thanks to all our viewers for viewing this webinar as well as for your active participation. Thank you.